Alright, so I let it render, and I had to make a smaller version at 25% just to keep the renders in check. Now, this is with the reflections on, and I don't feel that it makes the scene a whole lot better, which I'm glad about because we can turn that off. Okay, because the ray trace reflections in this don't really make much of a difference compared to our previous without the reflections. Okay, and we still have some reflection here, but it's not a ray trace reflection. That's just an image map. So, and these little jaggies we'll be able to take care of with our anti-aliasing, so that's okay. So now, let's do something a little bit more fun. I'm going to take, let's say this orange light right here, this right light, Control C to clone it one time, get to perspective view, and where's our back? I want to put this right in between, like this, in the back here. Okay, and I'm going to go to the properties for it, and we're going to name this rear light. And I think an orange could still work for this one. But what I'm going to do also in the render tab is open up Viper. Okay, and that's what we're going to create. I'm going to show you this in a minute here. Click render, and let's open up the, and if your render comes up with an error, make sure you press F9 and do a render, and then your geometry will show up in here. We are going to create a volumetric light. Okay, and click volumetric light options. Okay, hit render, and that's what you see. And what you want to do is increase the radius. Okay, so a lot of people ask me, like, Dan, how can I see my lights? There's two ways, volumetrics and flares. Other than that, you can make the light as strong as you want. You won't actually see a light source unless you have a flare or a volumetric on. And in this particular case, we are doing a volumetric. And let me get to my scene here. There. See that little, this outer yellow ring right here? That outer yellow? That's our intensity fall off. This center one, that is our volumetric. And watch as I increase the radius. See that? Okay. And volumetric is a way that you can actually create streaks of light. Okay. They generally work pretty well with spotlights for the most part, but you can also do them with point lights. Now, that's not going to look so good in the animation, so we have to change a few things. You can dissolve it, which is kind of like fading it. Okay. You can also change the luminosity, and that helps. The opacity of it. Okay. We don't really want to mess with that too much because then when it falls off, you get these dark edges. Attenuation is a fall off. So you can make it just kind of fall off like that. So you can make it really hot in the center, and then it can just fall off. So it's a great way to create like a sun or a burst, or just an entirely different type of lens flare. Okay. So again, let's bring luminosity back down. We don't want it that high. We don't want it to fall off too much. Really what we're going to do is play with the density and bring that density down. Okay, because we want this to be in the back of there, but not too much. Okay, and let's increase the radius. And generally I find that this also is a little bit of trial and error. Because you want a nice gradient. You don't want it too hot. Okay. And so with that, we'll Shift S to save the scene. Let's do an F9 render. Our ray trace reflections are off. And that's good because volumetrics also increase render time. Surprise! So don't worry about having ray trace reflections on for the most part. And what we're going to do, again, we're going to actually be animating these. Okay. Now, ray trace shadows is on, which is important, so we can create... we don't want all the light and everything just all spilling all over the place. We want it to be blocked and leaking, so to speak, through some geometry. And then kind of give it a nice look. Okay, so while that's rendering, I can't really work in the scene at all. But again, remember we've got our inverse distance fall off, so the light is actually falling off, and then we've got our volumetric light, which is that outer ring. Okay. And I think what I'll do is I'll just leave this, let it render. It'll probably pop up in just a minute as soon as I move on to the next video. But let's do that, and we'll keep this thing moving along.